And I want to turn now to another media chief, and that's the CEO of Discovery Communications. Discovery beat third quarter estimates for profit and sales, and the company boosted its forecast for the entire year. Joining us now is the CEO of Discovery Communications, David Zaslav. David, welcome to InBusiness.
Hi, Margaret.
I'm going to guess you're not going to be competing with News Corp's bid for the Dodgers there.
No, although sports is very powerful today in cable, but that's not where we play. We're really nonfiction in the U.S. and around the world. So we'll leave that to Chase and to the others that play very well in that space.
Well, it's interesting in looking at your earnings, and you've been talking about the resilience of advertising in the cable space. Why is that, given the uncertainty in the economy?
You know, it's so hard to tell. If you look at the last 2 years, the advertising market has remained quite strong. In fact, it's been very strong for the last 2 quarters, and as you go into fourth quarter, it remains strong. We all know that the economy has been having some challenges in the U.S. and around the world. I think part of it has to do with the fact that people are spending more time at home. We've been able to grow our market share in the U.S. and around the world. But also, a lot of the companies have very strong balance sheets. And so, at least for now, there is this disconnect where the markets around the world are finding some struggle, but the advertising market remains strong. We hope that that continues. It certainly will through the fourth quarter, where we have a real good handle on where the advertising dollars are.
And it appears you're able to charge a little bit more for those advertising dollars overseas. What's the biggest international growth market for you?
Probably Brazil. Brazil, we're seeing very substantial subscriber growth, but also advertising growth there as well. Most of Latin America is very, very strong, but we're also seeing good growth in Russia and in Hungary and in Poland, and as well as India. So I would say the emerging markets in general have been propelling our growth more so. And there are some other markets that are like the UK and France and Italy that are a little bit more mature. In those markets, we've been able to grow by pushing the market share of our brands and our channels.
So how are you evolving your online strategy there, the other way to view, that sort of third screen, you could say?
Well, when we think of people consuming our content on other platforms, one, at least here in the U.S., we recently did a deal with Netflix. That deal with Netflix created a new window, 18 months and older primarily, with some very good economics, and it's non-exclusive. And so one way to monetize our content is by doing other deals with other players in that window. Now, we only did that in the U.S. There's a chance that we could do that in other markets around the world, and we're looking at that and thinking about that right now. Online, we have not put our content online in the U.S. or around the world in long form in any meaningful way. TV everywhere here in the U.S., and there are some markets outside, that provides a real opportunity for us. We would have to reach a deal with the distributors because we have the rights to our content on other platforms. But I think you'll see over the next year, 2 or 3, that TV everywhere, the ability for a consumer to consume our content either on a linear basis or through a catch-up, what's been on for the last month on our 13 channels or for the last few months. You'll see that in the U.S. and some of the more mature markets. It'll be a while before you see that in the emerging markets, which are just getting penetrated now for traditional TV.
But how do you mentioned Netflix, I mean, how do you go into those licensing and distribution agreements without it cannibalizing some of your pay TV carriers?
Yeah. I think the answer is carefully, and we need to see how it works out. For us, we had a couple of basic principles. One, that it be non-exclusive. 2, that the content be primarily older, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. We have a great library of content that's for the last 25 years, and we own all of it. That gives us a great advantage versus a lot of other players in the market, and we haven't had a place to monetize that. So the idea of monetizing that with Netflix here in the U.S., that's exciting, and it's exciting because people are consuming content on that platform, and we're also excited about the fact that there are a lot of other players that want to play in that space. Now, we did our deal with Netflix as a 2-year deal, really because we want to see, is this additive where people sample our content on Netflix and then spend more time with our cable channels? Or does it become, as you said, does it eat into our carriage? Our viewership. If it eats into our viewership, then we'll have an escape hatch after 2 years, or we can consider that in how we in terms of how we deal with those kind of platforms in the future.
As a content creator and owner, though, are you more interested in owning some form of distribution? When you look at M&A right now, buying one of those distribution channels be of interest to you?
Look, I think there's never been a better time to be in the content business. We have enormous growth outside the U.S. and emerging markets that feel a lot like the U.S. did 5 or 10 years ago with substantial subscriber growth. And we're positioned with 11 channels in Brazil, 10 channels in Russia, 10 in Mexico. We own all of our content, and so we're feeding all of these channels. But at the same time, we're now, as consumers want to consume content on new platforms like Netflix, we can nourish that. And TV Everywhere becomes an even nearer term window. And we can get economics and value for that. So I think for us, we're about content, brands, and monetizing it all around the world on all platforms. We'll leave the distribution to the distributors.
All right. Thank you very much, David Zaslav, for making time for us today. I appreciate it.
Great to see you.